Alrighty, I watched a video here on YouTube that purported to be talking about the secret government, but when I watched the video expecting to see talking about the secret government, what I found instead was video that was instead trying to blame America by saying that we backed the Contras and trying to make America out as an evil empire. There was no discussion about a secret government anywhere in the piece. So it was a lie. It was bogus. Alright, so that kind of pissed me off. So I'm responding in a large part to that video by explaining the Contra situation. For those of you who may not have a clue, some of you may have heard the name Ollie North. Some of you may not. I don't know. But I want to try and explain this to you, for those of you who may not be aware, because, to put it frankly, the video pissed me off. It lied in the title. So, let's see here. Before we talk about the Contras, though, we have to talk about what came before that, which is the Sandinista National Liberation Front. Okay? The Sandinista National Liberation Front is a Nicaraguan political party founded on the broad leftist principles of the Popular Front. Okay, Popular Front. Well, what is a Popular Front? So we go and we see what a Popular Front is. A Popular Front is a broad coalition of different political groupings, often made up of leftists and centrists, who are united by opposition to another group, most often fascist or far-right groups. Being very broad, they can sometimes include centrist and liberal or bourgeois forces, as well as socialist and communist, aka working class groups. Popular fronts are larger in scope than united fronts, which contain only working class groups. Now, what this definition here does not say, oh wait a minute, let me go on here. In addition to the general definition, the term Popular Front also has a specific meaning in history of Europe and the United States during the 30s, and in the history of communism and the Communist Party. The term National Front, similar in name, but described a different form of ruling using ostensibly non-communist parties, which were in fact controlled by and subservient to the Communist Party as part of a coalition used in Central and Eastern Europe during the Cold War. It should be noted that not all coalitions who use the term Popular Front necessarily mean the accepted definition for Popular Fronts, and not all Popular Fronts necessarily use the term Popular Front in their name. Same applies to United Fronts. Okay, so that was a bunch of hogwash. Basically, what a Popular Front is, ladies and gentlemen, is it's communist. Okay? Now, I know the definition here says it can be far-right groups. Well, there is nothing more far-right than a conservative. Fascism, see the definition Nazi. Well, what does Nazi stand for? National Socialist Workers' Party. Okay? So it's a socialist. Nazism was a socialist worker party. That is what fascism is based upon. So they're not right-wing at all. There is nothing to the right of conservatism, ladies and gentlemen. That's something that's important for you to know. Because you'll have all these people running around saying, fascists are right-wing, fascists are... No, they can't be. There's nothing to the right of a conservative. There is nothing to the right of a conservative. Conservatives are patriotic people who love their country. Nazism, aka fascism, is to the left of conservatives. Patriots. Okay? Nazism, fascism, is to the left of patriots. Okay? So no, this is a bunch of gobbledygook, but I thought I'd throw that out there anyway. Alright, moving right along. Their organization is, back to the Sandinistas, by the way. Their organization is generally referred to by the initials FSLN, and its members are called in both English and Spanish Sandinistas. The term comes from what the Sandinistas termed as anti-imperialist struggle of Augusto Cesar Sandino during the 30s. It led a Marxist revolution that in 1979 overthrew the Somoza political dynasty. Following their seizure of power, the Sandinistas ruled Nicaragua for roughly 11 years, from 79 to 90. First, they ruled through the Junta of National Reconstruction. In 1984, there were democratic elections, which they won in the majority of votes. Well, hell yeah, if you're the only political party, of course you're going to win. Duh! They established a new national constitution, among other sweeping reforms. They lost power in the 1990 election. Today, the FSLN remains one of Nicaragua's two leading parties. The FSLN often polls in opposition to the Constitutional Liberal Party, or PLC, which represents a roughly similar portion of the Nicaraguan population. Although the FSLN was voted out of power in 1990, its revolution affected many facets of Nicaraguan society, and its legacy has left a lasting impression in the country. In the Nicaraguan general election, 2006, former President Daniel Ortega was re-elected president of Nicaragua, and the voters brought in the country's second Sandinista government. Ortega was elected president with 38.7% of the vote compared to 29% from his leading rival Eduardo Montiel of the Nicaraguan Liberal Alliance. Okay, so the communists are now back in power. The people are now enslaved. What few rights they did have are now gone, and Daniel Ortega is now back in power again. So, now that we understand what happened with the Sandinistas, now let's go back and find out what the Contras was. The Contras is a genetic term for various armed groups opposing Nicaragua's FSLN, the Sandinista Junta of National Reconstruction, following July of 1979. Okay. The term Contra is short for Contrarrevolucionario in English, counter-revolutionaries. In other words, they were opposing the Bolshevik-style revolution of Nicaragua. Okay, in other words, anti-communists. And was used in distinction to their opponents' nickname, the Capa, short for compañeros, which is comrades. Well, imagine that. Okay. The Contras were initially organized with U.S. and Argentine support. So now you get a lot of these people that say, oh, it was U.S. led, it was U.S. Actually, no. Actually, Argentine support is what initially led the Contras, and we joined them. So it's exactly bass-ackwards from what you've heard. Argentine support by supporters of the overthrown Somoza regime, who had served in his notorious National Guard. Over time, the Contras came to include a number of other groups, each one essentially independent. Different groups of Contras had different aims and little ideological unity. Well, that don't make any damn sense. Either you're against the FSLN or you aren't, and these obviously were. In the first years of the activity, led by former members of the National Guard, the Contras were involved in widespread murder, torture, and brutality. Yeah, right. Yeah, well, first of all, it's called a war. Second of all, we had American emissaries there, and there wasn't that much brutality going on other than what occurs in warfare. So obviously, this is leaning way to the left. But anyway, by the end of the 80s, moderate elements of the Contras has succeeded in marginalizing or removing many of the brutal and corrupt elements inherited from Somoza's National Guard. At certain times during their existence, the Contras received considerable U.S. financial and technical support. At other times, the U.S. Congress wished to distance itself and withdrew all support. All right. So basically, the United States did not start the Contras. They're not the only ones who were involved with the Contras. You had Argentina. You had former Nicaraguan people. You had people from other Latin American countries, all who were opposed to communism in our hemisphere. Okay. So this fact that it was this supposed fact that it was the American imperialism, and no, sorry guys, it wasn't. It wasn't. And when you consider the fact that communism is the exact antithesis of everything this country stands for, do you really want communism in your backyard? I would hope not. I would hope not. Okay, so I just wanted to clear that up, because there's a lot of people thinking, it was all America's fault. It was all America's fault. No. It was a Bolshevik-style revolution in Nicaragua similar to what the Russians had in 1917. It was communism, fascism, communism, Marxism, call it whatever you like. It was communism, plain and simple. We tried to stop it. It succeeded marginally. And now Daniel Ortega has once again instituted communism back in not very far from our shores. Okay?